Hey everybody, this is Ben.
And this is John.
And welcome to Cinema Gulp's Star Wars Happy Hour Special. Hey! Cheers! Okay, everybody, we just got back from seeing Rogue One, a Star Wars story. Warning right now for everybody listening to Cinema Gulp today, this is our first in a long time spoiler discussion. Haven't done one of these in a while. We will have our Cinema Gulp quick shot review up for you later on in the week, which John and I are discussing in a non-spoilery way. This is our first time ever that we're actually introducing a new element to the show, which is 3 more Gulpers. We're going to start here on Talk About Rogue One, is artist extraordinaire and Buddhist Owen Hunt. And right along the side of him is avid first-person shooter gamer and chess player Babak Masoudi. And last but certainly not least, world's most authority on all things Lebowski, Devin Byrne.
Hey, dudes.
Hey! Rogue One, let's talk about this. John, first thoughts.
So there were things that I liked about this film, but as a whole, I didn't love this movie. I liked the way it looked. That was probably my favorite thing. I think there was some really great Star Wars visuals in this film. I thought there were a couple characters that I enjoyed along the way, and I think that the final action scene is pretty cool. Really feels like a Star Wars action scene towards the end. But I found it a little bit slow in the beginning, and I think it's kind of a film that it does some cool things with the story within the Star Wars universe, but as a whole, I think they could have done some more interesting things with this story.
I would agree with half of those points probably, but in a less intense way. I think the first act, I agree with you, it's really bogged down, and a lot of it has to do with a lot of character introduction, a lot of people you have no fucking clue who they are, and then you also have a lot of names being thrown around that unfortunately they wanted you to kind of connect with these books that are out there as part of canon, and if you didn't know who those were, you were kind of playing catch up on who was who. You get caught up pretty quick in the second act and you know who everybody is, but at first when they're kind of jumping through systems, it gets a little bit confusing. But I gotta say, the thing that I loved about this movie is the background of everything that's happening in the saga films. This is, what is the rebellion, the Rebel Alliance, really made of? What are they really thinking about? What is their purpose? Are they just people that don't want to be under Imperial rule, or do they have their own agenda? Are they trying to get back the Senate? This movie shows the inner workings of what the Rebel Alliance really is, and it also does that for the Imperial Alliance, which to me was a little bit more interesting because it was less people kind of standing around looking at monitors that are made to look like they were from the 1977 movie, and a lot more of people playing a power game with each other and interesting characters trying to gain more position in the hierarchy of the Empire.
I would agree with that. I think they did a good job of showing the politics in the Star Wars world better than the prequels did, which was filled with a ton of politics.
Well, because that was just boring nonsense.
Yeah, but it was filled with a ton of politics, which they thought you would think is interesting to world build and things like that, but it was just boring and it was nonsense. Yeah. In this one, it feels more realistic to what should be going on with these two factions, and I thought that was an all right, interesting part of the story. Well, that's definitely what I liked, was the look of the film and how it had kind of a gritty feel and felt more realistic than the flashy, ugly look of the prequels. I mean, those films, you can't even look at them. They're so terrible.
This movie looks like A New Hope. It looks like A New Hope by costume and by set design. Obviously, they can't help the fact that it doesn't look like it through CGI. There's nothing they can do about that unless you want it to look like somebody's got a can of WD-40 and they're creating fire with a match to create an explosion. It has to use its CGI because it's 2016, but it looks and fits right with A New Hope. Sometimes almost too much, with like the guy up in the tower and Yavin 4. He just sits on
worst job, because with all the technology they have, they can't have a camera on that lookout post.
Yeah,
He's got a good view, though.
He's got a great view.
He's up there just jerking off. So me and John have given quick little brief notes on this. Remember, this is a spoiler discussion, so anything goes. We're going to start going around the table. First one I want to go to is Owen. So Owen, give us your first thoughts and impressions on Rogue One, a Star Wars story.
Well, being an artist, I definitely paid attention more to the artistic design of the land landscapes and the ships and even the interiors and the costumes as well. Originally, not really being a historian on everything Star Wars, I wasn't sure what to expect with this movie. I did find it interesting that this movie didn't use the use of creatures to kind of keep the viewers entertained. It stuck to a human-esque characters to keep the story going. With the characters, I kind of connected with them and their struggle and what they wanted to achieve. But at the same time, there was just so many of them. And in the beginning, so many worlds that we jumped to back and forth that I kind of got lost right away on what was going on.
I love that point about like not using monsters and like extra digital effects to create these things that don't need to be there. This is a much more like human story out of it. Yeah, more about like the people that have no powers and just have their like guts and their wills and their weapons and stuff. Yeah, that's a great point.
That being said, though, my favorite character was a non-human. It was non-organic, I believe, the robot.
Which was the main sense of humor in the film.
Yeah.
K2SO. Right. Great, yeah, good character. Yeah, the droids are crushing it in these new movies.
Tayduk.
Yeah, he's awesome from Firefly. That guy can do no wrong. He's always funny. And he was there. It was all motion capture. He was there the whole movie.
Well, that's impressive then. I wasn't aware of
it wasn't just a digital effect. Dude,
that's him acting.
That thing was moving around more real than Tarkin was.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, I enjoyed watching this movie. I don't think it hurt the Star Wars Enterprise. It just pushed it along farther. It tried something different that previous Star Wars movies haven't really tried before.
And that's good. Like Disney is showing some testicles the last 2 years. It's like they bought that from Lucas and they could have fucked it up. Like they could have totally just been like, oh, we're gonna like make 50 Ewok movies.
They had already seen what it looks like when it gets fucked up.
Yeah, but they could have taken a different route that would have fucked it up in a different way.
They could have.
But instead, there's two really solid films so far, well, at least in my opinion.
But knowing Disney, they take their time. They do their research before they buy something, before they get involved in something. Especially something of this magnitude.
Yeah. I don't think you need to research if there's fans for Star Wars out there.
Yeah, I mean, buying Lucasfilm is going to put Disney pretty much just as powerful as the oil companies and the pharmaceutical companies. They're going to make so much fucking money. So Babak, what did you think? To give us your thoughts.
Well, I'm going to go out a little bit more of a limb. I love this movie, and I hated the robot.
Yeah!
The robot, I thought, was like Robin Williams in a robot outfit, and I feel like it should have been more primitive than C-3PO.
Robin Williams, he's more like Jar Jar.
You know, there's a robot movie that's...
I thought this guy was like...
This
guy was like Seinfeld.
Robots, I believe.
Yeah.
I didn't get the feeling that this robot was on cocaine.
This robot was on It was way too human. I feel like the robot was more human than most of the people so far as personality is concerned, and I was very happy when it like served a purpose in the end of the movie. And but I love this movie and died, yes, but very, very plot. I mean, him dying was the centerpiece of the entire plot of all of the movies put together. Is that crux
without him, they wouldn't have been able to achieve what they wanted to achieve.
But that happened with every single one of those characters that they killed off. They achieved their little goal right before getting killed. Every single one of them.
That's true.
4 or 5 times in a row.
Even the one dude who was like, "I'm gonna be the first one to run for the Master Switch" and die immediately. Like at least he did his part. You know, like I love all the jets and stuff. I love 3D. I can't wait to watch this because of all the depth and so many of the shots, especially at the end where you're looking down the archive core. The camera is behind the X-Wing and it's diving to the planet, and you have this entire depth of... I can't wait to see it in 3D. It's going to be awesome. But, I love all those aspects of it, and it did feel like a video game. It felt like Star Wars Battlefront. It just, you're there. I feel like lots of these sets were almost based off some of the levels in Star Wars Battlefront, which I love, and it was great to run around and just be like, oh, I would take that left corner there, and then they would take the left corner, and it was really great. But no, I love those aspects of it, but it really, I think, delivered on the character development in the way that I love about the pacing of the movie. They start out, they give you all the different home planets, they really let you get your fix. You see all the different races, all the different things, the action, and then they spend a little bit of time getting not cheesy, drawn-out character developments, but rather a quick dream flashback, which is like a quick little montage, but not too long, and they really kind of give it out in chunks. And the whole beginning, instead of doing the opening scroll, which they never have the opening scroll for the first time, you got a prequel story that sets up the daughter-father relationship. A cold opening, yeah. But I like how they put the little prequel story that really kind of set up the whole like development of like the relationships and stuff. But they tried a couple different twists on the Star Wars thing, and I liked it. And I also like the throwbacks of like, you know, the old display locking on to the X-wing, and then the explosion comes in from behind the pilots, you know, in the cockpit. Like
every pilot has to scream before they go.
They do.
The ship is so much more further along of exploding, and then it cuts to the person. It's like, well, now it looks like the ship is just starting to explode, but the shot had already like
it already blew up before, you know, and
sparks
stuff like
come
that.
out from the sides.
It'd be funny if like they had like a parachute thing where like you can
That's
shoot
what I was
out,
just
but then you
thinking.
can suffocate in space.
Well, it'd be like a space ball, you know, space balls.
I want to see these stormtroopers evolve in a way, at least in their armor. I don't want to keep seeing this plastic suit that they have to wear. And I've noticed in all these movies they get punched, they're out. But aren't they wearing a helmet so that they don't get knocked out?
Wouldn't the hand hurt punching one of those fuckers?
Maybe it's
you would break your
plastic,
hand
though,
punching
maybe
that fucking helmet.
I think the armor has knives on the inside of it, and that's why stormtroopers go down no matter what. Yeah.
I can tell you how the stormtroopers have grown in this movie. We actually got to hear water cooler banter for the first time ever. Hey, did you hear the rumor? Stacy got fucked by the copy machine last night.
Hilarious.
That was the best dialogue of the whole film. I love it.
Oh man, yeah, that was awesome.
So Devin, what'd you think of Rogue One?
So I'm probably going to sound like the asshole of the bunch here because I didn't really enjoy this movie as much as everyone else did. And yeah, fuck me, right?
Yeah, the room is split. The room is split.
Yeah, no, I
this country.
I heard good things about this movie, and I read a couple things. I tried not to read too much about it because I didn't want to spoil it, but I read, you know, some vague descriptions of the movie, and I got generally good reviews, and I thought I was going to really enjoy this movie. But I found myself kind of bored through the movie. I didn't really give a shit about the characters. I didn't care if any of them died, really. I found quite a few of them pretty annoying, actually. Forrest Whitaker, terrible, over the top.
Yeah.
I actually wanted him to die.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank God he did.
Early, that was great.
Too bad it wasn't in real life. What?
Tsunami of Earth.
I thought he was gonna show up in this movie and be like a ghost dog type character, where he's like fucking shit up, you know?
Why did he even need to die? He could have got away. He was like, I'm gonna face this down myself. It's like, what are you gonna stop the Earth from being destroyed?
Well, aren't you happy? Because he would have been in more of the movie had he gone with him.
They got rid of him early, man.
Small thing. But Forrest Whitaker, whatever. He was a small part of the movie, but I did not enjoy his part.
Steampunk.
But that being said, though, I didn't really care about any of the characters. We knew that most of them were going to die in this movie because of what we know about the other Star Wars movies, but I just didn't care about any of them dying. Visually, the movie was great. I liked the visuals. I loved the space battles. That part was awesome. I loved the planet where they had to go and retrieve the information, you know, and send it to the rebels. That tropical planet with Scarif. Yes, I love seeing that planet. It was all tropical with the palm trees, and you had that cool blue water. It was just something different that you haven't seen in Star Wars before. And then when you see the battle on that planet, it was just fucking badass. It was pretty awesome, except for a couple parts. Which is typical Star Wars, stormtroopers, they're fucking worthless, we know this. But then, though, I mean, God, the death scenes with some of these characters just sucked. We saw them coming a mile away. God, the blind guy. Okay, blind guy. I really wanted that guy to be a badass character, but it failed so fucking hard for me.
He was introduced
so
as a
hard.
badass character, and that was pretty much it.
He was, but he fucking failed. Fucking failed.
It
Sorry.
seemed like he was a little bit crazy too, because he kept repeating.
I thought he might have been mentally disabled, probably. I don't know. Maybe just kind of dumb. I don't know. Kept doing that little chant he did. I am with the Force is with me. And then he just walks out. The stormtroopers are killing everybody else, which they never do because they're the most horrible shots in the universe. But when he walks out, the fucking blind guy, he makes it all the way to his destination amidst all these lasers.
The Force was with him. I do think that they're trying to say that anybody can have Force powers if you believe in it, and that the Force was protecting him in that moment.
I might.
I don't think the Skywalker
Because his buddy wasn't his.
No.
If I believe in Santa Claus hard enough, there will be gifts under my tree.
And I took that into consideration, but I felt like this guy, I took what you said into consideration, John. I totally did. I didn't get it. I didn't think that like, oh, he he has a grasp on the Force. He seemed like more of an idiot to me. I don't know. That's just me.
Well, he was a believer.
Yeah,
you
he was a
know,
believer.
he was just trying.
Yeah.
He should have been a much better character. I agree with you. I thought that his buddy with the machine gun was a little bit more interesting, or at least more of a badass.
For me, my favorite part was the last 5 minutes of the movie, probably when Vader came in and just started fucking shit up.
Oh my
That was
God.
awesome. That
Vader
was great,
unleashed.
and I love that they didn't make him a huge part of the movie.
Right.
I know, I like that, and I get that. But when he came in at the end, it was fucking awesome to see him tearing shit up.
And that ending worked really well to connect the two films, as you know, they were gonna do,
Unbelievably
but,
well.
But like seamlessly connected them. Whereas in Revenge of the Sith, they tried to make this quick connection at the end with seeing Vader
shoehorned.
standing in the window and the Death Star being built in the background or whatever. But it was so shoehorned, and it was like let's show us all these things that need to happen in a quick little 5-minute montage to get us to the beginning of Star Wars,
Right.
Which they didn't need to do because there was 15 years of
This
still
one
history
was
to
like,
take place.
surprise! Like,
Yeah.
guess what? Everything you've been watching is minutes before A New Hope, and you didn't really know that was where it was going to be. You thought maybe like they'll get the plans and then like the Rebel Alliance will take off and regroup, but no, it's literally right at that second. You don't know that.
Awesome. That was the best part for me.
Yeah.
And that's the writing being good, because the writing of the movie, say what you want about the direction and some of the characters and stuff like that, they only had one movie to flesh out 6 or 7 big characters. The writing is pretty good because it does these great things to talk about why it's so fucking easy to blow up the Death Star if you know where to look. You know, those things are so well done, and they don't seem ham-fisted or stupid.
I agree with you right there. I think that was one of the best aspects of the writing of this story, was giving a reason for why it's so easy to blow up the Death Star, and they do a great job of that. Mads I liked his character in this. I didn't know how much he'd be in it, and I was glad that he kind of wasn't just in the intro and they got rid of him. But I do love the reason they give for why the whole catalyst for this movie is his character and what he wants to do to get back at the Empire and his daughter.
It was a very good little element.
That restraint is what I appreciate about this, because I can't stand when a movie, and I'm going to say movie, not film, just a commodity. They just have to spell out every plot point. They have to show you, you know what I mean? Yeah. They have to show you the kiss. They have to tell you, are you okay? I'm all right. They have to summarize the plot to the date. You know, like they have to go and show, like spell everything out. But this one, they had some restraint, and that's what I liked about it, because I love Star Wars, but it's cheesy. And this was actually a little bit more held back. They let you get the point of the scene, and then they don't kiss. Or like, you know, they show you this is a hardworking guy that was one part of the Empire, and then you get that he was doing that daily sabotage.
I want to talk to Owen about this first, because Owen's an artist. He does beautiful designs that are really, like you said, like really almost kind of like some of these like a lot of like space and like nebulous things in space and all kinds of like, not necessarily like planets, but like environments and stuff. But this movie had a $200 million budget. Do you think it used that effectively?
I mean, when the Death Star first did that first strike on that planet, and that wall of Earth was just coming towards them, and then that explosion reached up into the atmosphere. So working in our house myself for a certain amount of time, I can see how expensive it could be. And, you know, I mean, yes, there were those scenes where you saw that it was an actual on-location shot, but for the most part, 95% of those probably CG of sorts. So this humongous budget that they had,
Drinks on Owen.
But it was using it sparingly, and remember, it costs a shitload nowadays. Not just on CGI side, like shooting like practical is almost more expensive these days because no one's fucking doing it anymore.
Well, yeah, plus you have to hire all these people on set to do their little jobs and everything. And I think they kind of saved money on these actors because these actors weren't in this movie a whole lot.
So you have Felicity Jones, who was like okay, but I liked Daisy Ridley better as far as like somebody to like really want to see in another movie.
I liked all the characters from Force Awakens.
That's because there's only a couple of them, 3 new ones that we're going to be following, and they knew we were going to be following them. It's a little bit easier to, you know, this one was not about the characters. This one was about the story. No, but I agree with you. I agree with you. Force Awakens to me is still a stronger film. But it's also a very different type of film trying to achieve a very different thing. Babak, you touched like really briefly on like some of the gaming stuff, and I kind of had this feeling that you were gonna just love a lot of that last 45 minutes because it is very like strategic, and I know a lot of it's just kind of shoved in your face, but you were probably seeing a lot of that. You know, they're obviously not gonna do some first-person shooter thing.
I think that's kind of a, yeah, I mean, it's hard to watch. I love Hardcore Henry for the first person thing, but I don't think the average audience
I haven't heard
is
anyone
ready for
ever
that.
say I love Hardcore Henry.
Oh, well, yeah, you don't know anyone else who plays first person shooters, so, you know, but it's like, that camera angle I personally love, but it's too Blair Witch for almost everybody else.
The whole movie of that?
Yeah, exactly, yeah, just
Or just
first person
gay.
camera angle. Yeah, or just gay. It's pretty gay, yeah. But, you know, it's great.
As long as I know the camera is attached to Jason Statham's cock.
Yeah, just see where that goes. No, but it is cool to see a stunt perform from the perspective of the stunt guy, and that's what's great about Hardcore Henry. But that's, you know, an aside. I really love the tight camera angles. You know, it's like when you have just like a third person camera angle just over the shoulder, that's close enough. I think that's getting it right into the action. You know, when you're close enough to see the expression in someone's eyes in the middle of a firefight or something like that, and especially because in addition to in addition to gaming, I also love paintball. And like when you're on the field and you're running at someone who's trying to shoot you, you really feel the adrenaline. You can really kind of see that in a lot of these actors. I feel like they were out there having a good time making this, especially when you're like bunkered up under fire. You can't move because you're going to get hit. That's a tight spot, you know, and yet for someone to say, I'm going to go for it. You know, that was really great. I love that, you know, Token's death in the end, right? That was really nice. But, you know, lots of these scenes, again, I can't wait to watch them in 3D just because there's so much depth and there's so much coming at you. And again, as artistically, it's so beautiful. Everything, I almost felt like I was watching Guardians of the Galaxy because this is a very multicolored universe.
Yeah.
The turquoise waters versus like the, you know, the deserts, the red deserts and all that. You know, it's a very colorful universe, you know, just like in Guardians of the Galaxy.
That's a great point, because Guardians had about half this budget, and it kind of did that to kind of confine scenes and make them smaller but feel grander. This one just had like this free range to like, hey, let's make one planet like a fucking tropical island. And, like,
I feel like that was because we've already done sand, we've done ice, we've done it was like the one really distinct look they hadn't quite done
And of
yet.
course, the Empire
And the forest.
They got this tropical planet. You know, of course, they're like one of their main headquarters bases was on this pristine planet.
And you know, and I do love the way that they set up all the infrastructure, all these spaceports and little mining colonies and these different environments. You know, just a one-off. You know, to see like one of those destroyers hovering right over the mining thing where they're shedding, you know, stuff and there's nothing else on the planet. Like, that's how Interstellar Empire would actually operate on the infrastructure level. And so I really love seeing that stuff.
one of the lines that we do say a lot is, I don't like you either.
We're wanted men on 12 systems.
You'll be dead.
Yeah, it was great. I love how they brought those two characters back in for just a quick second. That was great. I loved that. It made me laugh right away. That got me excited, you know, because I was kind of bored up until then. I also enjoyed the little, you know, I don't even know what they call those things from the A New Hope. It was, I believe, the first time they started the little car, the little black car. Dude, I can't help but laugh every time that shit would roll by.
What the fuck do they do?
I don't. It's never explained ever.
Can you just jump on one if you're
Honestly,
tired and
I
it'll
think
ride
they're
you?
messengers. They're little messengers.
That would make sense, I guess.
I mean, before email back in.
But
the
what
original
comes
Star
out
Wars
of
set.
them? Like,
For me, it doesn't matter because it's from my childhood. I remember it, and it's awesome for that very reason. And I love seeing it in the movie.
what did K2SO do for you? You said you liked him. I liked him too. I think everyone.
I was more upset by K2SO's death than anyone else's death in the whole movie.
Disassemble. Dead.
Absolutely.
Because I thought he brought a cool new dynamic to the movie. He had a sense of humor, obviously, and he was kind of he seemed like he could be a dick.
He was pretty much a dick the whole time.
And I did. And the other thing, I mean, to add on to that too, I'm also grateful that they didn't make that character like a Jar Jar Binks in this movie, and they didn't gear it towards kids.
No.
And nothing in the film is really geared towards kids, which I was glad.
No.
Right.
Like, Force Awakens does have a little bit of a Happy Meal vibe to it.
BB-8, you know, is a little, like you said, puppy dog kind of android, you know?
Let's talk about Gareth Edwards a little bit.
Okay, yeah, that's what I do want to talk about.
Yeah, go for it.
Well, there were things I thought I knew about this film going into it. I'd heard that it was going to be kind of like a Battlefield kind of film. I had played once or twice Battlefront, the Star Wars one, and it was amazing. The visuals you get in that, I mean, like you said, you feel like you've really stepped inside of the world of Star Wars, and you're holding a blaster, and you're pinned down and stuff, and you get that feeling. And I was hoping to get that from this film, because I had kind of heard that they were going to go with that, and then with the posters and what little of the advertising I kind of caught on to was these battle scenes that were taking place, the beach being stormed or whatever. Like, I was expecting kind of a war film, and I had heard that about this, that it was going to be a little bit of a Star Wars war film. I don't feel like that really came through. Yes, there is that battle at the end, but like the big moment with the AT-ATs coming in just goes by so quick, and they take them out way too easily.
Fully agree.
They don't even have to wrap one up.
For real.
I honestly think that those are like earlier designed ones that are easier to destroy. That's my only explanation for why they were so easy to destroy.
I see what you're saying, though, John. Like, I see what you're saying. Gareth Edwards was kind of saying how, well, he was also running his mouth about what Godzilla is going to be, and we all saw that was kind of a snoozer. The end result of the 45-minute battle scene, it didn't turn out to be like, it wasn't just this isolated thing. It ended up being what the title scroll says on A New Hope, where it was the biggest victory of the Rebel Alliance ever. So we're kind of going into it going, okay, it's going to be a bunch of like rebels storming some beach and getting their asses handed to them, and then they're going to have to self-sacrifice. They do all that, but yeah, it does. I'm with you. It didn't play out in a tragic way. It played out more like there's 3 different battles, like every Star Wars movie. There's 3 battles going on at once. But I've seen this twice now. And the second time I was watching it tonight with you guys, it was still very intense to me. Like, there was something about it. It's like, there's so many facets. There's so many things going on in this battle. Oh, we got to get this master switch. Oh, we got to plug in this. With every Star Wars movie, when they go onto a planet, the planet feels like it's about as big as a football field. Right? There's just literally like one stretch of land, and that represents the entire planet.
Well, actually, I did think that one thing, if we want to credit Gareth Edwards in this film, I think that he brought some Star Wars visuals and some wide shots that were really impressive in this film that I don't think we got in Force Awakens. I felt that film felt very contained.
Well, we got a lot of sweeping shots of like aftermath. Well, no, that's not true, because we did see like Jakku with like Star Destroyers.
But I think this did a better job of giving us that wide, impressive look than even.
It gave us a different look. Force Awakens. Yeah, and it gave us more looks because they visit a lot more worlds in this movie.
Yeah.
They were like visiting like worlds every 10 seconds.
Well, it was like we talked about the.
It's like the Bourne. It's like the Bourne movies.
Yeah,
like every second they're going to a different place.
Every 2 minutes, a new title card of where they've gone to. You lose.
The universe starts to feel small when you see how quickly these characters can get to different places.
That's true.
And how,
I love it when they're like, the Alliance will never make it in time. They're halfway across the galaxy. It's like, really? It took them 2 seconds to show up there.
They're really tired of waiting.
Every species understands each other. Even everyone understands robots.
They all speak the Queen's English, so.
How do you learn robot?
They speak the international language of love, dude.
Yeah.
Which is French.
Yeah, French.
Actually French.
But I mean, I do like some of the visuals he put forth. I really love that final battle. Some of the things we see. The space battle is one of, like you guys have pointed out, it's one of the best space battles for any Star Wars movie that you see actually up in space. That taking out the Imperial destroyers, is that what they called it, a Corvette? They did with it, and how that takes out the force field. That's probably my favorite thing in the entire film.
Absolutely.
From an action standpoint.
Definitely, and I'm glad the destroyer did not fall. like there's an absence of gravity or
like that little burst of fire that comes up after it.
Destroyers don't fall in space. There's zero gravity.
That was a great scene.
Cool.
And it shows you, if anything else, it shows you that the Rebel Alliance, even if they're not main characters of the story, they're still kicking ass and they still know what to do. That's one of the most important scenes as to why that victory was so big. Because not only did they break the shield, they fucked up 2 Star Destroyers and like without losing any bodies. We haven't even talked about Jimmy Smits yet. It was awesome, right?
It was nice to see him. It feels like he doesn't speak until about his 4th scene that he's in the movie.
And he's got 3 pens in his thing for some reason.
Yeah.
How do they need pens?
He's just standing there quiet for.
Yeah, a lot of people have 3 pens kind of holding up their like cloaks.
In fact, his only scene that he speaks is when he alludes to the fact that he's going to let Princess Leia know.
That's the scene I wanted to get to. That was handled well, right? Where he's just like, my friend, and they're talking about Obi-Wan. Like, my friend served me well in the Clone Wars. Like, well, we need to have somebody go and like seek him out.
I think most
maybe
of the
show our tits to him to get him close.
Most of the minor connections to obviously a Hope Floats. What the fuck is it? A New Hope.
Hope Floats.
Obviously,
Sandra
the
Bullock and
connections
Harry Connick Jr.
to that film are great. The little connections that take it back to the prequels, even though most people hate those films, it was kind of nice. Like Force Awakens made a point of doing nothing that connects it to what we learned from those prequels.
Well, there's no reason to. It's 35 years later.
I get that. But this one, the little things that connected it were nice to see. It made sense and worked well.
They could have... Disney could have easily said, let's sell 50 times more toys. and let's have Jar Jar Binks in 2 seconds in this movie just saying something, because he would technically still be alive during that time frame doing something.
Has no one killed him yet?
I would like to think someone
The internet
did.
has.
It's a risky thing to even bring the prequels into people's mind, but you had to, because this is before A New Hope.
Yeah, you have
Yeah,
to.
I like that. What were some of the other little nods that you noticed that you liked?
I love
The
the whole like
crystals and-
angle with the kyber crystals and how like that's what fueled the Death Star, and then when you find out that's also what like kind of powers lightsabers, like the Death Star is just like one giant lightsaber.
Yeah, that was like a midi-chlorian moment that actually worked, you know?
Yeah, where it tries to explain something in a scientific way, but it worked. That whole little tiny story going on at the beginning about how they're trying to extract as much kyber crystals as they can from this planet, you're kind of like, what the fuck is this, and is this, it's just adding too much to the story? But then it's like 1 or 2 lines kind of tell you like, okay, kyber crystals are like the thing that power the Death Star.
It would have been kind of nice to see where these crystals were being extracted from.
Yeah. Another thing I did want to point out, and again, this is kind of me wanting the film to be a certain film that it didn't turn out to be, but I also thought it was going to be kind of a heist film, that it was going to be this group of people trying to get these plans, and that is totally
Like
is
an
what it
Ocean's
was,
11.
but more of an Ocean's 11 kind of heist
How
situation.
lame would that have been in the Star Wars universe?
I thought that would be
Let's
interesting.
get Lando Calrissian.
If you mix that in with a war film, well, it would have actually had a spark of life, where there'd be conversations that would be interesting. People trying
I
to
see what
trick
you're saying.
people,
Like instead of
people
just like
trying to-
instead of like
Just an
Diego
invasion.
dressed up as
Yeah.
like an imperial officer.
you might
I mean, it has some of that in it, but not enough. I thought it would actually be like this team formed up, and now they have to go on this mission, and it wasn't exactly.
They had a moment to do that where they're like, we're all the rebels within the rebels, and we're gonna go rogue with you on this, like, you know, Dirty Dozen mission, and then the whole Rebel Alliance jumps in, you know, so they had that moment to flesh that out,
They
but
kick ass for a little bit.
they do kick some ass, you know, but I think that maybe the time constraints, because if you start making these movies over like too far over 2 hours, you're gonna lose me. I mean, I'm there for like hour 45,
Yeah.
Most
2:15. I'm kind of like, who are these people?
What's your final thoughts for Last Call?
I'm not.
I need 2 more. Give me a round.
I mean, ultimately, I was gonna see this movie no matter what, so I'm not at ends with like, you know, going to check it out. I thought it was entertaining. I'll see it again. I'll buy the DVD when it comes out. And I'm sure the second time around, I'm not going to enjoy it as much. I'll find the issues with it. But ultimately, I think I'll give this right now like a 7 out of 10.
Well, yeah, so last call is here. I think that this movie was for a Star Wars movie. It was one of my favorites. I think it was great. It was a bit more it was a bit more refined than any other presentation of Star Wars. I mean, I'm not going to compare a blockbuster summer film to like movie to a film, but I think that they showed some maturity, you know, throughout the presentation and stuff. They didn't super cheese it out. I honestly loved it. I can't wait to watch it again in IMAX 3D. It's going to look amazing. And they're going to have some great new maps that they're going to roll out as DLC on the game, I bet you. So,
Oh god, the games are gonna go ape shit now, dude. You're gonna be playing those. You're gonna be shooting those AT-ATs in a fucking tropical.
oh, it's going to be amazing. So, I mean, for me, now I'm going to say this is specifically for Star Wars, not compared to what do I like from an artsy European film or something like that, but like what do I think in Star Wars? I'm going to say a full gulp.
So 1 out of 10.
No, what's a full gulp? Isn't that the biggest
Is
one?
that 10 out of 10?
Oh no, he's talking about like if it was
The
like,
gulpometer.
Gulp meters 1
Don't
to
you
10.
people do that thing here?
How many gulps do you give? 1
How many
to 10?
gulps?
Oh, all of them.
I did 7
Is
gulps.
it 10? Oh,
Just
I was
say
wondering why
10.
you were saying numbers.
10 gulps?
I'm going to give it a full 10 Star Wars gulps.
Devin, what'd you think?
All right. So overall, God, okay, there were things I enjoyed about the movie. There were things I could not stand about the movie. I did not really care about any of the characters. For me, the best part of the movie was Vader in the end. The battle scenes were cool, but for me, the best part was the last 5 minutes, maybe even less than that, when Vader came in. That was awesome. That was badass. Oh, this movie. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'd probably give it a 6, and I feel like maybe that's maybe 0.5 generosity going on there.
That's not bad. That's like a movie that John loves. He gives it a 6.
That's like a movie I kind of hate,
Round up.
almost. I'm bored. I did not love the movie. It was okay, but I mean, hey, that's just like my opinion, man.
So, well, first of all, John and I are going to give our final thoughts, but man, do we want to thank Three of the best guys in the entire universe going to see this movie with us.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
For enjoying
Yeah.
With three unique palettes of what they like in film. Man, Babak surprised the shit out of me with how he was talking about movies. If he wasn't so goddamn fucking chuckly through movies, I'd watch more with him.
You guys are all welcome to do reviews with us anytime you want, whatever the next big movie you want to see.
Hell yeah.
Join in with us. We love doing these kind of spoiler discussions and get a little deeper into the film as well. Really quick, we'll go around one last time. Owen, what is your favorite Star Wars film?
I like it when a movie ends where the bad guys are in control, so I'll say Empire Strikes Back.
Yes.
Is anyone not going to say that, though?
No. No.
Well, what's your favorite?
You know, I'm gonna have to go with this one.
Whoa!
Yeah. I mean,
gotta be
We're
kidding
not friends
me, dude.
anymore.
No, I actually respect the hell out of that. Are
Yeah.
you serious? I mean, right now after first.
yeah, you know, and
Rewatchability
I
is
just
gonna
did
play a lot
watch
into
it,
that,
you
too.
know, but I really do think it was a great package. I thought Disney could have really fucked this up, but I think they're doing great. They're learning from past mistakes, and you know, really kind of showing some maturity in the presentation.
Devin, what's your favorite Star Wars?
It's definitely Empire, without a fucking doubt. Dude, that movie has such a dark tone to it. It's fucking great. That's a fucking real Star Wars movie, dude. That is a real movie. It does not fuck around. There's no kiddie shit in it. That's a fucking boss movie, dude.
I've always said this. I'm not going to lie. I have a really hard time picking between... And I don't give a shit what anybody says to me right now. I love Return of the Jedi. I love it. I think it's an amazing conclusion. I don't give a shit what people think about Ewoks. Every other aspect of that movie is such a great closure to it. I have a hard time with those two because they're two very different films. There's a middle act and there's a final act. But I think almost Return of the Jedi just has stronger scenes. Like the whole rescue of Han scene is fucking incredible, and then the last space battle is incredible. There's so much good stuff. Yeah, there's a lot of shitty filler in the second act with like Ewoks capturing them, and it's like they really get captured by those guys. But it's kind of silently said that they're just kind of going with the flow and they're letting themselves get captured. A lot of people are like, why are they getting captured by the Ewoks? Like, they're kind of just letting that happen. Luke is like kind of guiding them, like, hey, these guys. He's trying to become allies with them. A lot of people are like, how did they get captured by the Ewoks? They didn't really. They could have slaughtered these little things, but
I kind of agree with you there. Like, when it comes to a story, the good guy always has the hardest time trying to win. It's never easy for them, but it's always easy for the bad guy to take control.
and sometimes it's more entertaining to watch, whereas Vader's so compelling and interesting. But I love the arc of Luke in the third one where he's fully fleshed out and he's a fucking badass now, and like it shows in the opening when he fucks everybody up on Tatooine. You're like, okay, well now we know who Luke is gonna be. This is who he is. This guy can fight Darth Vader, the guy that the movie we just saw tonight was throwing people up onto the ceiling and slicing them in half. But he was such a pussy in the first one, obviously, because he was just like, he looked like a beach boy. And then the second one, he was a whiny bitch, but he was learning things. And to me, I love that like full circle conclusion and that character arc coming to its potential. And Luke came to that potential. So it's hard for me to say, but I always kind of teeter towards Return, but that's just me.
Well, and I agree with you. I'm the same. I think both those films are excellent. I agree with you that there's probably better action scenes in Return. The rescue of Han and that final battle are so exciting.
Even the speeder scene through the force.
The speeder scene
way ahead of its time.
is so excellent. And I love the Ewoks. I have no problem with the Ewoks. I think their design is excellent and their village and everything. I think it's a natural part of the Star Wars universe. I think people who say that it was just in there for a marketing ploy, they're right, but that's not the only good thing about these Ewoks. I think they're great. I love Return, but I have to go with Empire. I think that the dark ending, the dark tone of that film, I think the action scenes in that one are excellent too. I think the stuff with Yoda is great. He's such a fun character that we finally saw come to life in that particular film.
That's true.
Vader is such a badass. I think the best lightsaber battle is in that film as well. The most emotional lightsaber battle is in that film.
They're both pretty fucking
They're both pretty emotional. But also the best emotions in the series is in that film.
Closing thoughts for me on Rogue One: A Star Wars Story. This movie was so much fun for me. Today's the second time I saw it. It was just as enjoyable. At least it was more agonizing watching the Forrest Whitaker moments because I literally despise them. I'm sorry, I love Forrest Whitaker, but I don't know what the hell was going on. I didn't really necessarily care too much about this movie being a war movie. What I wanted to see out of it was exactly what it was, which was the inner workings of what the rebellion is, and the inner workings power struggle of a bunch of evil fucking Nazi type guys in the Empire, and how they're all trying to one up each other, and and you really do find out that the Rebel Alliance is not this perfect good guy group. Like, they're militia. They're almost sometimes borderline terrorists. Like, they do what they have to do for the greater good, which in the end of the story, I guess, was the better way to go, because they're not genociding people. And that's the stuff I really wanted to see. I wanted to be I wanted everything you hear about this stuff. I wanted to be that fly on the wall that saw what was going on in the rebellion, saw what was going on in the Empire. This movie did that for me. That's what I wanted out of it. This is technically a prequel, and it's the first one that's not only not shitty, but pretty awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and give it 7.5 gulps.
I like aspects of the film. I think it's a good Star Wars film. I like the world building that it does for the Star Wars universe, but I just didn't fall in love with any of these characters or really get attached to them. It's an all right movie. It looked good. I mean, it kind of fits in line with Gareth Edwards' last film. It looked great. It has nice effects. Well, I found it to be better than that film, but it's like I'm kind of getting what this guy does. He can put some impressive visuals on screen, but he's not a great storyteller, in my opinion. Yeah, this film is better. There's things I liked about it. I'll definitely see it again. As all Star Wars films, I'm probably going to see it multiple times and potentially buy it, even if I'm not a huge fan of it, just because it's kind of part of the collection. I think it's a worthy part of the collection, and as you said, a worthy prequel to the original Star Wars film. Much better than the 3 prequels that Lucas made. So for my Gulp Gauge score, I'm going to give this a 5.5.
Okay, everybody, this was Cinema Gulp's Star Wars Happy Hour special. On behalf of Cinema Gulp, John and myself want to thank...
I have one more thing to say.
Oh, go ahead, sorry.
At the end, Princess Leia kind of looked like a fuck doll.
And what's wrong with that?
A real doll?
A real fuck doll.
So thank you everybody so much for tuning into Cinema Gulp's first ever Happy Hour special, and this one was dedicated to Star Wars Rogue One, obviously. We want to thank Owen, Babak, and last but not least, the Lebowski himself, Devin. Thank you guys so much for your input. We're super stoked that we got to see this with some interesting individuals here.
So I think the next one that everybody together for would be Jackie. I think everyone would really enjoy checking that out.
We'll all watch Jackie together.
So great.
Thanks so much, everybody. As always, check us out on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Cinema Gulp. This is Ben.
This is John.
We drink your cinema.
I drink it up!
What you say, what you say, what you say, what? What you say, what you say, what you say, what? What you say, what you say.